The OFCCP, Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, specifically enforced the law among businesses and institutions that contracted with the government or received federal funds. The landmark law also bans segregation and discrimination in all public places, including schools, libraries, restaurants, and businesses. Okay, go back to the, I got a slide after that, Marcus. For more than 60 years, the executive order helped many thousands of workers who had endured discrimination. Yet, despite the law, research shows that Black Americans continue to face pervasive employment discrimination at a rate that has not declined since the late 1980s. Okay, next slide. On January 20th, 2025, an executive order was signed ending DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. Now, previous administrations had forced illegal, the claim is previous administrations forced illegal and immoral discrimination programs going by the name diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, into virtually all aspects of the federal government. And also Executive Order 13985, signed into law January 20, 2021, the executive order advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government, that was gone at the beginning of this year. What that did was that put policies in place, 300 policies in 90 federal organizations to bring about racial equity. Okay, next slide. And also, we saw Executive Order 11246 rescinded earlier this year. In March 2025, Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, now the EPA goes back to the Nixon administration, Environmental Protection Agency, okay, shuttered the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights. This is what I was just telling you about. This department was shut down permanently. Shuttered the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights and announced it was eliminating all 10 of its regional divisions. Okay. Now this goes back to 1992, created because a disproportionate exposure to deadly pollutants, toxic waste, and pesticides faced by Black people. Okay, so read the rest of that. Check that out. Okay, next slide, Marcus. In March 2025, a move was made to dismiss a landmark environmental justice lawsuit in Louisiana against a chemical plant located in a poor, predominantly Black community. This is called Cancer Alley. Anybody hear about Cancer Alley in Louisiana? And a lawsuit filed against this chemical plant that is alleged is polluting the area and causing cancer among African Americans. And Cancer Alley, that area is about an 80-mile, if I remember correctly, it's about an 80-mile stretch, and it's 80% Black. Okay, that area is about 80% Black. But that lawsuit was dropped, okay? And you have this department that's shuttered. Okay, next slide. And, okay, this deals with disparate impact liability also. This is from the same article as well. Okay, next slide. I'm going to speed through some of this. This deals with diluting Black power, Black political power. Diluting Black political power, as the Thurgood Marshall Legal Defense Fund warned us what was going to happen. When state legislators create new congressional maps that eliminate majority Black districts, for instance, they are not going to declare that they are doing so to dilute Black political power. But under disparate impact, Black residents don't have to prove that legislators intended to discriminate. They can prove discrimination if the accused cannot show that there was a legitimate reason. So disparate impact is something that you're going to hear about, and I've been hearing about as well. This gets into that. Okay, next slide. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to zip through this. Go ahead, next slide. redirecting of the Department of Justice away from fighting anti-black discrimination. Now, I was looking at an article today from theguardian.com from June and July this year that talked about 20 investigations, I think it was, into police departments have been dropped. Okay? This deals with the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice and how in previous administrations, patterns and practice investigations were launched in certain departments of justice. Minneapolis Department of Justice. It happened here in Detroit, I think 2 times. We were in Southfield, but Detroit a couple of times. Chicago, things like this. And this is designed especially when you have evidence of racial discrimination, abuses against African Americans. The Department of Justice can launch this investigation and then enter into a consent decree with the police, with that police department, with oversight from a federal judge to improve the conditions, improve behavior, things of this nature. Okay, this deals with ending that practice. Okay, next slide. That's what's taking place right now. Now this is another article. This is from the Associated Press. This is Justice Department says ending Louisiana petrochemical case helps dismantle radical DEI programs. Now, one of the things that I find interesting is that people can find DEI in almost anything. Okay? They revoke billions of dollars to build a bridge, and they say it's possibly unconstitutional DEI programs and things of this nature. But this piece right here, this is from, I think this was 2024, and this deals with the Cancer, March 7, 2025. This deals with Cancer Alley. The Justice Department on Friday celebrated its decision to drop a federal lawsuit against a Louisiana petrochemical plant accused of worsening cancer risks for residents in a majority black community, saying the dismissal showed that officials are, okay, whatever. Okay, go ahead to the next slide. But so they'll see DEI in anything. Go to the next slide, Marcus. I think I got a slide on this. This deals with what I was just talking about, the civil rights investigations into police departments. Okay, this was a really good article from NBCnews.com. The Justice Department is dismantling lawsuits against a number of local police departments and ending investigations into patterns and practices of unconstitutional behavior. The pullback from police oversight comes amid major changes at the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. Officials said lawsuits during the previous administration against two city police departments, Louisville, Kentucky, and Minneapolis, would be dismissed. And this is what they did. Louisville, Kentucky, because of the killing of Breonna Taylor, and Minneapolis, Minnesota, because of the killing of George Floyd. Now, what's interesting is that, I'll go to the next slide, because anybody know when the Department of Justice was created? Okay, we're going to get to that. You're not going to believe this. The lawsuit followed Justice Department investigations into those two police departments, which describe patterns of use of excessive force, discrimination against black people, and free speech violations in both jurisdictions. Those investigations were separate from criminal trials of police officers from those departments who were charged over the high-profile killings of George Floyd in Minneapolis and Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky. So when you have white police officers convicted of killing African Americans unjustly, many of us are happy, but everybody ain't happy. Like I said in the beginning, when you deal with Project 2025, it's dealing with a backlash to the racial reckoning that took place in this country after the killing of George Floyd. That racial reckoning echoed around the world. And a lot of people, so here's what, I talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And I said that back in 2022, there were articles saying there was a nationwide shortage of police officers. Because what happened was because of the tide that was turning, because of the racial justice movement, things like this, some officers who didn't like that movement left the profession. They retired, they went to go work for Amazon or something, you know, they left, right? So that left vacancies. So a lot of departments had to lower their standards. A lot of departments were saying, look, we're down 300, 400, 500, 600, 800 officers. We got to hire people. I said, this is an opportunity for black people who said, we want officers who respect people, treat them like human beings, will only use lethal force as a last result, people who, officers who see the African-American community as a community to be protected and not policed, because that's understanding the difference between the guardian mentality and the warrior mentality. The warrior mentality is us against them. The guardian mentality respects the people and sees them as people to be protected, okay? I said this is the time for people who say they want that to apply to these police departments and get these jobs, so for us to become the type of officers we claim we want to see. Instead of trying to reform people who are unreformable. A lot of people miss that, okay? And that opportunity is slipping away. Okay, next slide. This right here, the U.S. Department of Justice was created in 1870 by an act of Congress during Reconstruction. The primary purpose of the U.S. Department of Justice was to enforce the new rights given to African Americans, especially voting rights. That's why it was created. This is an article from SmithsonianMag.com, Smithsonian Institute. Read this article. I don't have time to get deep into it. Read this article. Created 150 years ago, the Justice Department's first mission was to protect black rights. This article is from July 1st, 2020. See, we don't understand how to protect gangs. This is why you have to understand history, economics, law, and politics. And at the same time, you have forces suppressing the teaching of our history, so we can't understand the past. When you can control people's understanding of the past, suppress their ability to vote today in the present, you can predict and shape the laws of the future. This is what's happening. But long story short, the president at the time declared martial law in 9 counties in South Carolina to crack down on Ku Klux Klan activity because the Klan was attacking African Americans and African American elected officials and things of this nature. Read this article. This is a good read. This is a deep article. Okay, next slide, Marcus. This deals with the infrastructure bill, New Jersey and New York infrastructure bill. This is from a few days ago. This is USA Today. Okay, they're revoking $18 billion infrastructure bill, okay, because they claim DEI. So when I heard it on the radio and I heard it on MSNBC, because I listen to, so the TuneIn app, right? The TuneIn app, you can stream MSNBC for free, but I got cable. I pay that high cable bill too, Xfinity. All right, I pay. That's like a car note, but. I heard them talking about holding up the infrastructure, revoking the funds because DEI. So I went and read it. In a post on X, Russell Vought, the director of the Federal Office of Management and Budget, said the hold is meant to ensure funding is not flowing based on unconstitutional DEI principles, referring to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So Russell Vought is known as the architect of Project 2025. Okay, next slide. Oh, so this is a good one here, because I heard people talking about they're taking black jobs, right? This is from like July this year. Associated Press, 1.2 million immigrants are gone from the U.S. labor force, but the unemployment rate for black people went up, it didn't go down. I thought they were taking black jobs. Go to the next slide. Okay, next slide. More than 1.2 million immigrants disappeared from the labor force from January through the end of July 2025, according to preliminary Census Bureau data analyzed by the Pew Research Center. That includes people who are in the country illegally as well as legal residents. Immigrants make up almost 20% of the U.S. workforce, and that data shows 45% of workers in farming, fishing, and forestry are immigrants. So now you got white farmers saying, we can't find people to do the work and pick the vegetables and things like this. I wonder what happened. And the price of produce and things like this keeps going up, and they say, well, we can't find people to do the job. Well, but the people who said they were taking our jobs don't want to get out there and pick lettuce and pick tomatoes. It's like people don't even understand how the economy works. Did you know during the Great Depression, the U.S. deported about 1.8 million Mexicans back to Mexico, and they said they were taking white people's jobs? And they found out after the fact 60% of them were born here legally? The history.com, official website of the History Channel, they have a deep, in-depth article on that. And the president at the time had a campaign called, it's something like Real Jobs for Real Americans. And they said, the president at the time said, these Mexicans are taking white people's jobs. Next slide. The loss in immigrant workers comes as the nation is seeing the first decline in the overall immigrant population after the number of people in the U.S. illegally reached an all-time high of 14 million in 2023. That includes those on temporary protective status, like 521,000 Haitians, 350,000 Venezuelans. Next slide. We told they were taking black jobs, but 300,000 black women lost their job since February this year. This is a good article from Essence.com. More than 300,000 black women have lost their jobs this year. The NAACP says it's no accident. Next slide. Over 300,000 black women have put, now the same people who said they're taking black jobs are not explaining this. They're not even admitting that it's taking place. They don't even want to count the numbers anymore. Over 300,000 black women have been pushed out of the workforce in recent months, and the numbers keep getting worse. Not to mention, it's a figure that's raising alarms among advocates and economists alike. In April of 2025 alone, more than 106,000 black women lost their jobs. The unemployment rate for black women jumped from 5.1% to 6.1% in a single month, while the national rate stayed at 4.2%. By now, it's climbed to 7.5%. And we know the unemployment rate overall for black people in August 2025 went to 7.5%. And the gap between black women and everyone else is widening faster than it has since 2020. Next slide. I'm going to wrap up in a couple minutes here. Karen Boykin Towns, vice chair of the NAACP National Board of Directors, says what's happening is not just bad luck or market forces. Quote, we're witnessing a convergence of systemic inequities made worse by policy decisions that have rolled back hard-won progress, she says. She points to companies quietly abandoning diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments, massive federal workforce cuts, and small businesses struggling under tariffs and tight credit. 2.3, now it's about 2.2 million federal employees. 19% of them are black, because we over-index in federal jobs. And you look at the 630,000 employees of the U.S. Postal Service, 29% of them are black, and we've been working for the U.S. Postal Service going back to the 1840s, 1850s. So I don't know if people are familiar with Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson, going back to 1994, 1995, said, when you hear people talking about they want a smaller government, they want a downsized government, he said they're talking about disemploying black people. They're talking about firing black people from these government jobs. Next slide. Black women are concentrated in public service. These are sectors where African-American women are concentrated in the workforce. Public service, nonprofits, and care work, sectors that have been hit hardest. Quote, when you dismantle departments like the Department of Education, okay, because it was a high percentage of African-American women who worked for the Department of Education, as well as Housing and Urban Development, HUD, which have long employed large numbers of black women, and weaken nonprofit organizations that depend on government grants. You're not just cutting jobs, you're cutting stability, security, and pathways to advancement, she said. What we're seeing is not just personal choice, but systemic disinvestment. Okay, next slide. And then you have the attack on black cities with black mayors like Chicago, Memphis, Washington, things of this nature. Okay, we see that taking place. And one of the things that's happened is that the grants that came from like 2022 that were going to these cities like Detroit and Chicago and Washington, D.C., things like this, contributing to lower crime rates, in some cases record low crime rates over 30 years, those grants are being taken back. They're saying they're DEI, they're non-effective. You had 800, and you had the community violence intervention grants, and this has been helping Detroit. Community violence intervention grants, $158 million in those grants have been wiped out. They were helping cities like Chicago, Washington, D.C. The elimination of the CVI programs is part of a broader rollback at the Justice Department's grant issuing Office of Justice Programs, which terminated 365 grants valued at $811 million in April 2025, impacting a range of public safety and victim services programs. All right, next slide. The grants helped fund several programs that work to prevent gun violence. These included training outreach teams to de-escalate conflict, social workers to connect people with key services, and programs for hospitalized gun violence victims, Reuters reported. Okay, next slide. Read this article here, because I've been talking about it throughout the presentation. This is from the Washington Post. This is from 2021, the Mississippi plan to keep blacks from voting in 1890. Quote, we came here to exclude the Negro, end quote. Next slide. This is from the Washington Post. On a hot August day in 1890, delegates gathered at Mississippi's Capitol building in Jackson, Mississippi to begin work on a new state constitution. The overriding topic was the suffrage question, voting question. The convention's president, Solomon Saladin Calhoun, was a white county judge. He put the voting issue bluntly. He said, quote, let's tell the truth. If it bursts the bottom of the universe. We came here to exclude the Negro. Nothing short of this will answer. Next slide. And this is exactly what they did. They put in place a felony disenfranchisement law in 1890 in Mississippi. So if you were convicted of a felony, you lost your right to vote for the rest of your life. When you read this article, they expanded the number of crimes which would be classified as a felony. They were targeting African-American men who are voting. That felony disenfranchisement law is still in effect in Mississippi to this day. Okay, can't forget this one. Confederate statues are back. Let's bring them all back. Let's bring back Nathan Bedford Forrest. Let's bring back General Lee. He's on the Dukes of Hazzard. That's who the car that General Lee is named after, General Robert E. Lee. How many people didn't know that? It's you on the top of the Dukes of Hazzard car, the charge. I watched it when I was a kid. Bo and Luke Duke and Daisy Duke with the Daisy Duke shorts on. You even had a video called "Look at Them Girls with the Daisy." Oh, we ain't supposed to talk about that in church. But what I'm showing you is the programming. I'm showing you the programming. Black children are watching a show that is, it's a euphemism for the Confederacy. General Robert E. Lee was a racist slave owner who took up arms against the Union to maintain slavery. On the top of the General Lee car is the flag. It's not the Confederate flag. It's the Confederate battle flag of Northern Virginia under General Robert E. Lee's army. People think that's the Confederate flag. No, there were 3 flags that flew over the Confederate States of America from 1861 to 1865. That flag was never one of them. Okay, there's a good article from CNN that deals with the history of the Confederate flags, and they break down the 3 flags. That was not one. That was General Robert E. Lee's car, his flag. Okay, next slide. This deals with Albert Pike, the Confederate monument of Albert Pike that was toppled during the George Floyd protests in 2020. It's been restored and resurrected. So you have to ask the question, well, what are people, hold on, these were traitors to the Union. They committed treason. They worked to fight for slavery. And now you want to resurrect their monuments? Next slide. And this is in Washington, D.C. This was just resurrected like this week. Okay? Okay, next slide. An attack on African American history in the Smithsonian Museum. So we've been talking about that. You've heard a lot about that as well. Next slide here. Okay, so what can we do? So if you watch me on Roland Show, if you watch the African History Network show, I talk about political self-defense, and I talk about how we have to understand history, economics, law, and politics. History, economics, law, and politics. So what is politics? Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. Politics impacts every aspect of our lives, from the water we drink to the food we eat to the air we breathe. Next slide. I'm going to run through this. You can take a picture of it. Number one, we have to analyze whose policies are most beneficial for African Americans. We have to do a systems analysis. No politician is perfect because the people that they're serving are perfect. Okay, whose policies are most beneficial? Whose policies would do the least amount of harm? Who would create an environment for us to push our policies the furthest and get the most accomplished? Because the election is the end of one process and the beginning of another. All groups are pushing after the election to get their policies put in place, to get their initiatives put in place. It's an ongoing cycle. Number four, who will protect the gains that have been made? You have to be able to assess the gains to be able to know what needs to be protected. Oftentimes, many of us just took long-standing civil rights laws as that fight was fought and won, and we don't have to do anything else. Not true, okay? Number five, remove obstructionists, okay? We have to fire them, understanding how to block and stop what people are trying to do to you. It's not only, a few years ago I heard people say, I'm not going to vote for anybody that doesn't have a black agenda. First of all, a black agenda is not what politicians give you. A black agenda is what we give politicians. You have to understand the difference, but you have to understand history, economics, law, and politics to be able to put together an agenda. So you have to remove obstructionists, fire them. I would say, like when I'm on Steve Hood, when I used to be on Steve Hood's show, Election day is your day to fire the people you keep calling the radio shows complaining about. Next, okay, that was five. Okay, 6, remove obstructionists, fire them. 7, vote for, okay, so I get in trouble sometimes with this, and it's okay. I tell people, stop telling African Americans to exercise your right to vote, okay? You don't vote for exercise, you vote for power. If you want to exercise, go to the gym and work out. You got to understand the difference. Okay? You vote for policies that are beneficial to you, your family, your communities, etc. Number 8, economic withdrawal strategies. You see, Dr. King, April 3rd, I'm about to start preaching. April 3rd, 1968, I've been to the mountaintop. Dr. King said we have to always anchor our external direct action with the power of economic withdrawal. A lot of us forgot about that. Now, you have people like Pastor Jamal Bryant, things like this, the boycotts against Target, which are good. That needs to be expanded. A lot of people are investing in privatized prisons and don't know it. It's through their 401k plans and pension fund plans. I'm not against 401k plans and pension fund plans, but we can research, get with your benefits manager, find out where your money's invested. You can move it from one sector to another. June 2017, employees in the city of New York government, they divested $48 million from 3 privatized prisons. They found out they were invested in privatized prisons through their 401k plans. It can be done. Because oftentimes we are financing our own dehumanization. Next, number 9, building power locally in addition to nationally. So yes, National elections matter, but also local elections matter as well. So we have to understand all of the offices at the local level, how they impact us, from the school board to city council to the zoning board to the city clerk's office. The city clerk counts the votes. Number 10, use politics as a tool to accomplish what we want, not look for a savior. A lot of times we're looking for a charismatic leader, things like this. No, we have to use politics and use them as a tool to accomplish what we want. 3, stay informed. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. Watch the African History Network show, thegrio.com, news1.com, African American news sources. And we have to study our history as well. African history and culture gives us our foundation. It gives us our values, our interests, and our principles. Our values, our interests, and our principles. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. The reason why many of our people don't fight back is because many of our people don't think they're worth fighting for. Okay, next slide. And I'm going to wrap it up with this here. My next online class starts Sunday, November 9th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is ancient African empires, the Moors, and the transatlantic slave trade, 5000 BC to 1800. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for it there. You get 5 of my lectures in digital download format also. It's a 10-week online course, 200 slides, 15 books we reference. You can watch it live or watch the archived classes as well. There's 200 articles. We got about 80 to 100 articles that we reference. I've been teaching this class on and off since 2017, so it's revamped. It will blow you away, and it's PG-13, so you can use it with your children as well. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Right now, it's correct wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Thanks for your attention.